Tasty Peach saved To Your Eternity for me. He absolutely saved To Your Eternity for me. I wasn't really sure what I was feeling about season 2 of To Your Eternity, and honestly, after the last few episodes, going into episode 5 itself, my faith in this entire series was absolutely restored. It was really mostly episode 5, but I have to be truthful. I love Tasty Peach. I didn't think I'd like him. I seen him in the PVs. I seen his artwork. I'm like, this guy's going to be over the top. He's going to be annoying. I've seen this type of character too often, but they nailed it. Like, this writer nailed Tasty Peach. This writer, using Tasty Peach, I'm going to call him Tasty Peach. I know his name's Bon Xian or Bon, but I like calling him Tasty Peach. So I'm calling him Tasty Peach because of the way he says it. But no, the moment that he showed up, it pulled this series out of a rut. Let's be perfectly honest. Late season 1, the whole prison arc, going into season 2 as well. Yes, introducing this idea of this religious group that's the Guardians trying to bring Fushi out and protect him. That stuff's interesting. But it felt like the pacing was all over the place. It was going all over the place with this buildup. Obviously trying to build up a lot of generations. That way organizations and groups can build. But it felt like Fushi himself was just spinning his wheels. Like, it felt like all he was caring about is, I don't want to lose people, which I perfectly understand. I understand Fushi's character. I would be in the same, I think most of us would probably be in the same position. Everybody you know dies. What's the point? Don't get around people. Don't see that suffering anymore. I keep seeing it. But it, honestly, from a narrative perspective, from somebody viewing this, it gets old. At some point, it's like, do I want to keep watching this? There's nothing here besides that. But Tasty Peach came in and saved the show for me. And the reason why Tasty Peach is able to do that is that he's so caring. It's like he's this prince that you think would be full of himself, but he's a good person deep inside. He wants to help others. He acknowledges people. I love how much he loves his people. All of his soldiers. Every time something happens, he's calling out every single soldier's names. Because Tasty Peach acknowledges people. They're not just his soldiers. They're not just his servants. Yes, you'd argue sitting on somebody is kind of screwed up, but that's just his quirk. But deep down, he knows everybody's names. He acknowledges every single person that's around him. He's a good person. But, again, and the key thing here that is repairing the show for me and the story is that he's pulling Fushi out of that. He's stuck in himself, and he's pulling him out of it. He's forcing him out. And every time he tries to run away, Tasty Peach throws a boomerang and knocks him out of the air. Tasty Peach is exactly what this show needed, and this story needed, and exactly what Fushi needed. Somebody to pull him out and show him that you can look ahead of yourself. And I love that. I love the ability for, yes, it's hard. It's hard to pull somebody out of a dark state. And yes, you could say it's brash. It's very forced. But that's what Fushi needs. Specifically, Fushi needs. That aside, that just makes me enjoy watching it. But what re-sparks my love for this actual show and this story is what's presented in episode 5. Now, they've been building up for a while this idea that Tasty Peach can see things. And yes, it was kind of interesting, the idea that, yes, technically Tonari came to see Tasty Peach. That was the one that was standing at his bedside, telling about this Fushi. And I think because Fushi was somewhere else, Tonari's spirit was standing there trying to work on preparing Tasty Peach. Knowing that Tasty Peach can see the ghosts, she went to him. I don't know if she heard from other ghosts, like, oh yeah, there's a Tasty Peach over here, you can see us. And she's like, I need to use that person. Now, yes, this is where it gets a little bit upsetting, the idea that this is pretty much flagging Tasty Peach. Because Tonari at this point is acknowledging Fushi can use you. The moment you die, Fushi can use you. And I think that's exactly what Tonari did. Tonari knew this was the guy that Fushi needed to meet, and the one that will eventually give him the ability to see ghosts. But I think it opens up a bigger picture in the idea that because Tasty Peach can see this, and yes, eventually Tasty Peach sees a certain ability of Fushi he doesn't realize he has, it changes everything. Like, it absolutely changes everything. In episode 5, eventually they meet this king, and that king has a daughter that is dying. And this is where things get crazy, because they want Fushi to fix her. She's dying. Help her. Save her. Do some healing. You're God, right? And he comes in and says, no, I can't do anything. And immediately he runs away. He feels that sensation that she's going to pass. And he's like, I got to get out of here. I don't want to see this anymore. And leaves. And after she passes away, they're like, do something. The only thing I could do is mimic her and then create a husk of her, which is super freaking screwed up. Let's be perfectly honest. That was really, I figured he would change into her and say, you know, I love you, but I'm happy now or something like that. But that's not Fushi. He just goes, oh, these are the things that I can do. Tasty Peach said I have to do some stuff, so here's an act. There you go. Here's a husk. Enjoy the husk. Like, yeah, now I have to bury 2 children. But the crazy things happens after he leaves because her spirit embodies the husk, thus reviving her. And not only that, but Tasty Peach implies later on that she now has a body that is basically of Fushi's material. She is now technically of the body of an immortal. Now, it hasn't completely verified this yet, but it's insinuating that she is technically now an immortal, which opens the door to like that one single scene blows up everything. Like, everything I'm thinking about this entire story absolutely blew up. I said on Twitter, I'm like, I feel like the writer revealed all their cards now, because this makes me believe I know exactly how this is supposed to go. Let's go back to, I think it was episode 1 of season 2. The crazy thing that was presented is Fushi says, how long am I going to do this? Like, what is my goal? He doesn't even know what he's supposed to do. Kill knockers over and over again? Beholder said something crazy. And at the time I figured, okay, the Beholder is just claiming something that's impossible just to tell Fushi that it's going to take a long time. It's going to take eternity to fix this. Hence the title. But I think after this episode, I think I figured it out. I think the end game that the Beholder is, I guess, insinuating in with this statement is, I think the end game is that Fushi remove mortality. That's exactly what I think this is going. Because what's the presence in the story this whole time? Fushi goes, meets people, they're gone. Goes, meet people, gone. Tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. How do you fix that? If Fushi knows that he can essentially remove death, his life is changed. He will be happier. He's happy at the idea that everybody will remain. And so all he has to do is go around and replace everybody with a husk. And thus they have, again, if this is insinuating that they are in an immortal body when they go into one of these husks, which could turn into really something really screwed up in the idea that he goes around and recreates somebody, takes them out, and puts their spirit inside there. But I think that's where it's going. I think the idea is that Fushi was placed upon this world in order to remove mortality, to give everybody immortality, and thus the success is that he removes death. The knockers want to stop him and remove that data from him because he's going to create people out of him. And now that gets into another whole discussion after that, but again, that's where I think it's going. And that's the troubling thing now, is because Tasty Peach doesn't want to tell him that, purely because he doesn't want Fushi to leave him. But the moment that he tells him that, Fushi's life will change. Like, it will open the doors to possibilities. He will be able to restore those that he's lost in the past. But the question is, how can he do that if he doesn't know they exist? Tasty Peach holds the keys. And sadly, the way that I see this going, Tasty Peach is going to have to die eventually. And then that's the moment that Fushi will realize, because he'll then be able to see the spirits. Now, he's not going to know that he has to just create a husk, but Tonari might be able to tell him at that point. And will she tell him at that point? That's the question mark. Who's going to tell him that he can do this? The Beholder seemingly is keeping this from him. At least that's what Tasty Peach believes. Tasty Peach finally sees the Beholder, and he's afraid of him. And he believes that the Beholder is keeping it from him as well. So both of them are betraying Fushi in a sense, because they both have their own needs. Why is the Beholder not telling him? Probably because that'll make him stop. If he knows that he can just restore those that are his friends, he'll go off somewhere and hide. And I think that's exactly what Tasty's thinking as well. If I give him this knowledge, he'll just stay in one place. I almost think that was probably a cut dialogue, that moment that he passes by the Beholder. I want to believe that the Beholder told him at that point, if you tell him, he won't follow you. He'll go away. Don't tell him. I believe they cut that. We'll probably find out later that Beholder said that, because that's exactly the turning point for Bon. He was almost going to tell him, and then he realized, no, I can't do that. Now, this gets into a side tangent, but I don't think the writer's this nasty with cruelty and stuff and regrets. But there is a possibility what this kind of presents is this keeping this information from Fushi, I think could possibly lead into a tragic storytelling beat. Because what's the only thing preventing Fushi from restoring his friends? If he doesn't have the data. And what does the knockers do? Like I said earlier, the knockers remove that data so he can't recreate them. He can't become them, and I would assume he can't create a husk of them. So if he can't create a husk, if he runs into a knocker between now and the moment that he realizes that he can do that, and a knocker takes away, let's say, March, he'll realize at that point, I could have created her, but now I can't because they took that data away from me. And I think that's gonna, again, I don't think the writer's that mean, but this entire series has been mean. But at the same time, the writer just now made it kind of put a huge recovery point for how tragic the story's been, because he can restore them. All the tragedies in the story so far can technically be undone at this point. How much Fushi will do that is the question mark. And I think what that's going to turn into is probably still years and years going forward. Some point Fushi's going to know this, and he's going to recreate everybody. He's going to create everybody as immortals. He's going to remove mortality from the world. Cast scroll. I think that that's the end game. And this episode opened that can of worms. So I'm excited for it. For the first time since I first started this manga, I'm excited for it. I started this manga because I loved A Silent Voice, and I love this writer and how they do drama. But again, like I said, late first season, and even when I read the manga, that prison arc, it lost me. But it now seems like it's turning things around. Now, my only fear, and this is slight spoilers for anybody that doesn't like to watch previews, because I watched the preview at the end of episode 5. It's indicating that we're getting back to, we're finally going to bring back Asame. It looks like, obviously, we left it with Kohaku confessing to Fushi, and it looks like, at least based on the narration of the Beholder, that they're going to get back into the sins of the past. We're going to bring back Kasame. And again, as people that have been following me for a while know, that's a stain in the right that I don't like. I never liked Hayase. Additionally, the last thing I want to mention is oh my gosh, I love the March scene. The moment that, I got a kick out of the fact that Fushi's obsessed with this doll. It was almost like a statement to Otaku, because you have Tasty Peach come up and like, what are you doing? And Fushi's like, I think I fell in love with this. I think I love this. And Tasty Peach's like, you can't do that. You have to fall in love with a human. And he's like, why can't I fall in love with this? Well, there's people that do that, but I don't want you to become one of those. It's like, are you making fun of my waifus? I can love my waifus. It felt like a personal... That's the only time that I've been like, oh, Tasty Peaches. I don't think we could be friends anymore. I think we're... I love you a lot, man, but I don't think I can anymore. I think we have to go our separate ways. But no, it was like the follow-up scene. I was like wondering, is he going to destroy the doll? That's no point to that, because he'll just make a new one. He takes the doll, puts it on the bed, walks away, and then March is sitting there. Oh, I was like, oh, he just talked about how March would love that doll, and then there's March with the doll. Anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 5 and technically the second season in general, and Tasty Peach and everything. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you on this theory? Are you not? If you've read the manga, please keep spoilers out of the comment section. I stopped the manga back in the prison arc, so I'm going with the anime right now. So tempted to read on though. But no spoilers. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you have not read the manga, let me know what your theories are. I don't need confirmations, but one way or the other for the manga readers. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to that like button as well. Subscribe to the channel so you can get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top lists. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.